we go with Attic Nights in the middle of part 11 of book 1. But ipsius illus egregi scriptura. So, of the famous scriptor, libet one may, taking infinitive use, ut or taking the ablative words of that famous scriptor himself, that famous writer himself, quae which et correlatives both in dignity and fide believability are graviora. It's comparative without anything to compare. You just say it's rather grave or serious words in their dignity and trustworthiness. And it's a section of Greek. The Cretans, quoque also, solitus, are accustomed to enter proliums, battles, a data meshed into memory. It's given to memory or history. That the Cretans also pray cincte. That's singing with the pray means before. So their grecibusses, their steps, are moderated in advance with their singing and the moderation of the cithara, which is a lute or lyre type of stringed instruments. I might just read what this Greek says. And after this, the attack began. The Argives and their allies rushed forward eagerly and in a rage, but the Lacedaemonians, the Spartans, advanced slowly to their music of many flute players stationed at regular intervals. This not for any religious reason, but in order that they might make the attack while marching together rhythmically, and that their ranks might not be broken, which commonly happens to great armies when they advance to attack. Okay, that's what the Greek said. Autem, however, moreover, Alates, who was he? He's a Rex, the king of the Terrae Lydia, the king of the land of Lydia. He was praeditus, so he's entrusted with or gifted with. He had in the mores and the luxuries barbarian. So we had barbarian customs and delights, basically. And when he would faceret bellum, when he would make war on the Mileses people, as Herodotus in his Historias Tradits has written, continentes he habuit, had here, that just really means playing together or something, he had fistulors. A fistula is a pipe, such as you might have water in, or you might blow in a pipe to make music, and fidikines, this is another type of musician, and feminist etiam, and even female tibicinas, female flute players in his exercitu, in his army, and he had waited in procinctu, in his those who are girt up for battle, which are the lascivientium delicies conviviorum, that's genitive there, which is a delicacy or the delights or something to be enjoy at lavish feasts or banquets, you might want to say. 8. Sed enim, for but, you might want to say but for, or I just want to leave the enim out and just go but. But Homerus, 8, Homer, the famous Iliad guy, he says the Archaios would indepisci pognum. It's probably not overtaking or taking. It's probably they would initiate battle, you might want to say. Not relying of flute players and these musicians, tibias in fidicalums, but mentium, from mens, of the mind and of the animorum, of the spirit, nitabundo. So looks like they're full of relying on something, relying on the tacito, silent, consentu, agreement, conspiratu, possibly breathing or something. So it looks like the harmony of being silent and concentrating of your mind and spirit, and not on relying on musicians. This is these people. Anyway, another slab here of Greek, which I'll get from the Lobe. In silence come the Achaeans, breathing rage, resolved in mind on one another's aid. Okay. 9. Quid illi vult. Illi's male, but clemor's male here. So this most ardentimus, it's the superlative, this ardent clemor of the Roman soldiers. What was this? What did it want? What was its purpose? Quem, when in the congressibus, when congressing usually means meeting, it's probably because we have proliorum there of battle. So when they're clashing together in battle, you might want to say, was Solitum accustomed to fury to happen. The scriptors, the writers of the annals are histories like Tacitus does. What do they commemorate? What's this shout, ardent shout, all about? Contra ne, ne is the enclitic meaning question. Is this happening contrary to the Institutum Antiquae, to ancient customs, so probabile of discipline? So it looks like this was the very normal way of fighting in these ancient days, was to be silent maybe, or have music. And the Romans, they, in contrast, they have a shout in their discipline of, so antiquae and discipline, they both have that AE on the end. An usually means whether, or an tum. So then, with a clement and silent gradu, so it's like a mild step and silent step, est opus. Opus est is needed. As you see, opus est takes the ablative. When ito, so when your army is going ad hostem, towards the enemy, and in conspecto, when they are in sight, longinquo, which means far off, procol also means far away, in the distance. Vero cum, vero is that post-positive word. We'll just take it as but for now. So, but when propi, near ventumesti, have come to hand-to-hand combat at Manos, then already from this distance, e propinquo, the hostis, that's the enemy, what have we got? Terendos est, they should be terrified by this clemos shout, and they should be gerundived. Propulsus, backed by the impetu, by this force, back to this distance where they're at. So basically it says here, when they come close to hand-to-hand combat, this is when you should terrify them with a shout and propulse them back to where they'd come from. 10, another autem. However, moreover, okay, look, per the Tibicina Laconica, so that would be an adjective, that capital letter. So the Laconican flute of the tibia, quoque also of that one, into mind venets. So when you're thinking about this kind of flute, there comes into mind this other tibia, this other flute of the assemblies, Contianodes, which Gracchus, G. Gracchus, C. Gracchus, but when he was agenting, when he was conducting himself with the people, probably at a speech, since it's a Contione, ferent, they say, which takes the infinitive, these are melodies, praise, that comes from prayer, means when in front, and useful to ministering, basically. So it looks like they had some kind of flute which had melodies here, and you can see from other translations that it's used to regulate or put him in harmony or get him into the right pitch or something. 11, said, but nequaquam, by no means, sic est, is this right, as dicatur, as it is said by the Vulgos, the common peasants, that solitum, tibia, was accustomed to sing out or to be played, qui pone eum, which behind him, when he's speaking in the present participle, would stand. So there's a bit of a common story here, that when he was speaking, that behind him was standing a flute player, and with various modus, various modulations or notes or whatever, tum, he would demulcare, he would soothe the animum and actions of him. Basically, his spirit in his phrases, and then intendere, so they become more intense. So what this common rumour is he would emphasise the soothing parts, and then also the more intent parts. He would the flute would sort of cooperate with his speech. 12. Enim for quid, what for it would have been more ineptious, more foolish in istere, in this matter of speaking, if, as a barefooted saltante dancer, thus, with Gracchus having his oration at the assembly, We've got numeros, the number, and the modes, and the frequentia, certain various frequentia, that might be frequencies or whatever. So the number would, all these apply to music. So the number and the modes, the melodies, and the typican is looks like the Greek accusative of a flute player, and incenere means would be singing. So this seems rather foolish that if there's some barefooted dancer basically standing there piping out things on his little flute with different modes and melodies and frequentia. 13 said, but qui, there are those who, it is handed into memory, who are more compertius, who have gathered something differently, that I guess this flute player had stood, couldn't they say, rather occultly or secretively, in the group of circumstanding people, the people who were standing around listening, who, with a fistula brevo, with a short pipe, sense him little by little, gradually, they would inspire it, a rather, that's got a diminutive on it, gravisculum sonum, a small grave sound, which go to ad reprimanding, which would either repress the impetus of his voice when it's effervescently or it's bubbling up, and sedating. So there's a little pipe there, and it's doing more to crush and sedate the force of his voice, according to these other people. And so here's the daily dictionary word, compertus. Compertius is just a comparative. A res compertus is a fact. A male compertus is a bad character. Compertus just means something ascertained, proved, or verified. So information gathered. Compertius. Anyway, 14, nam qui. Qui is just emphatic. 4, we've got some ablatives here. Looks like this natural vehemence or energy of Gracchus, not as I think, was in need of, indigessi, of an external goading, instinctive and impulse. So his natural vehemence didn't need any of this stuff that the flute player was thinking as he was thinking, and which is generally thought, exist demanda, must be thought. Nearly done. 15. M. Cicero, that's Marcus Cicero. Nevertheless, Marcus Cicero, the accusatory thing is the fistulorum, the piper, istum, he this piper. So what's Cicero thinking? Cicero's thinking this would apply to the ray, to both of these matters, so up and downs, but done by Gracchus. In that a sonus, a sound, then it would be placid, and then citatus, made quicker. So either for when the oration of his, eos, is losing it a bit and it's lying a bit flat, it would irrigorate, it would stiffen it up, or if it was ferocious and savage, it would cohiberate it, would check it a bit. So that's why we would have the utriqui there. In both of these matters it would apply. And that's it for the day.